So back to what I was saying. What I was saying.
What's up, friends, family, and fans? Welcome to Life on Podcast. This is where we listen and inspire friends.
Everywhere in these uncomfortable chairs.
That's right. And why do we do it? Why? Because life happens to everyone. Yeah. I am your host, Stone Stafford, and I'm riding with my homie
Johnny Vaughn. What's goody?
You already know what it is. So today we are actually going to talk about the debacle that is the 2022 midterm elections. It happened to all of us, all across these somewhat United States of America. Some of y'all got what you wanted. Some of y'all didn't. But we are in the state of Georgia, and all eyes have been on Georgia for quite a minute. So this is your favorite time of year, isn't it?
No.
We already knew that.
Because I got 4 birthdays in like 2 weeks. It's a lot going on for me. Oh, you mean it's election crap?
It's election crap.
Couldn't care less about the election stuff, honestly, personally. That's just.
Are you one of those your vote doesn't matter type guys? Vote doesn't count?
I am now. So I'll go ahead and get this out the way now.
Right. This is so funny because I'm really talking to my mic stand.
Yeah.
Not Johnny. We're not going to
to
do this setup again.
I don't like this. I do not like this setup, dude. This is trash. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
It's mainly because I'm. Never mind.
We just don't like it.
I don't like it. So this is the first election since I've been able to.
No,
right. I can't see you.
Look back so I can see you.
I'm just gonna look at you through there. This is the first election that I've been able to vote that I'm not voting, and I have made the conscious decision because I've thought about this probably the last 3 or 4 elections I participated in, that I'm just not going to anymore because as someone who's as immersed in it as I am, when you work in the media, you're consuming way more of this stuff than the average person.
Right.
I know more about every candidate across this country than I care to. And it didn't take long for me to notice a very blatant pattern, 10, 12 years ago, that there is no left in the United States of America, period. You can call it left all you want to. You have left of the right wing, but everyone is right of center. There is no such thing as an actual left.
It's funny you say that because I'm not quite that staunch with it, but I always said there is no Republican that's truly Republican and a Democrat that's truly a Democrat. There are Republicans that have democratic ideals that they agree with and that they subscribe to, and then vice versa. So it cracks me up when people just vote party line or just say I'm Republican. I'll say at the end of the day, you're 100% not.
Yeah, well, that gets down to my whole point of it. I've noticed a very blatant pattern that we've been herded in a very specific way with how we vote.
How so, you think?
Simply put, the Republican Party is never going to do anything, ever. That's what the hiding behind conservatism is. We want things to be the way they used to be, so they're never going to do anything progressive to push anything forward. They're not going to do anything.
They're
not
traditionalists.
They're not going to provide you a financial resolution for anything. They're not going to provide you.
You're really pissed.
They're not. They're not going to. I'm not pissed.
I mean, not pissed. That whatever. I had to make sure. I had to remind myself. I was like, okay, that whatever wasn't pointed towards me.
No, it's not. I'm completely neutral on it, dude. I honestly do not care anymore. And I haven't for a long time. They're not going to do anything. I'm going to leave it at that. And again, we can go into details if you want to. And then the Democratic Party that's left of what our right wing is here in the United States are going to propose a lot of ideas and never be able to come together to actually make any of those ideas come to fruition. Mm-hmm. And then they're going to blame the Republican Party for not wanting to do anything. Right. And the Republican Party is going to blame the liberal side for wanting to do too much and being wasteful. And both of those ideas and concepts are not only stagnating to the development and progression of this country, but they've been used as a weapon to literally divide you more and more to exactly what you just said, voting party lines. My mom sent me a text message when she went and voted. Hope everybody's getting out to vote, whatever. And I just replied to her simply, I don't vote anymore. Mm-hmm. And then she hit me back with I'm sorry to hear that. And then she sent me a picture of my niece with a voting sticker. Now, if I would have, and my niece is 4 months old.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. If I were to sit my mom down and ask her, who did you vote for? I guarantee you she wouldn't be able to name more than 2 people. When there were in Florida, if I'm not mistaken, and so again, I got so many states in my head. I think Florida had 17 different things to vote for, all the way up to governor. and down to different propositions. I think it was 17. Could have been a few more. Again, I'm mixing the states up now. But if I asked her to name me the people and then give me their platform, name me their policies, what you identify with in there that made you, she would not be able to do that. And I have found, and I'm not going to throw this out as an arbitrary number, this is a real number. 94% of people I have asked this question to over the time I've been in radio, when we get into these political cycles, cannot answer these questions.
Right. No, I get it. And so, which brings up Warnock for me, because one of the things I thought Warnock was going to bring to the table was just from his whole campaign. He, in the very beginning, did a really great job. It was obviously a conscious effort of taking the high road. I wasn't going to campaign like everyone else. Not going to do the negative toxicity. I'm not going to do the mudslinging and all of that. And he did a great job. And to be honest with you, I mean, yeah, I knew the things he was running on, but at the end of the day, it all becomes repetitive, right? Everyone's running on the same crap. I'm going to do this. I'm going to lower taxes. I'm going to da-da-da. So I kind of wasn't really paying attention to a whole lot of that stuff. I started looking at the person more, and do I identify with their character as far as what aligns with me?
Yeah, and that's the wrong way to do it too.
And with him, I did meet him once or twice. You know what I mean? So the vibe, because sometimes that's all you can go off of. It's just vibe and energy and stuff like that. And, I got it. So anyway, I was like, I felt comfortable voting for him. I was excited. But again, the way he ran his campaign was refreshing to me. I said, that says something about this dude. So anyway, I voted for him. And of course, a lot of people are saying, oh, he's raising taxes and you're paying more. But to me, you don't understand how business works, because, there are some things you do have to raise and pay more to get some things done. So that part didn't bother me. On this whole rerunning thing now that he's running back, trying to get reelected, changed his tactics up. Now he's mudslinging. And see, that's my point. When you talk about you had to.
You have to.
It's like, because my thing is, okay, if you're going to compromise that, what else are you going to compromise? That's why I don't like being in politics. A neighbor joked with me a while ago, said, "Sto, you ought to run for like a public office, like a local public office."
You get eaten up and spit out.
I absolutely would.
You're too positive.
I'm too positive. I try to do too. Well, not so much positive where I'm lose touch and I'm in la la land.
You get mocked because of that.
But I would agree with that. It's not that I don't have a grip on reality, but I'd be that guy that would try to stick to my guns. And the thing is, the public, you guys don't understand just how heavily influenced you are by these campaigns, and you would like to think that you're not. But unless you are very conscious about not being influenced, which quite frankly, at this point, you just have to turn them off when they come on. But there's a section of the United States of people who just go by what they saw and what they read on the campaign. To your point, there's no research, there's no background, looking into backgrounds or anything like that. Right. And so these campaigns are for those people. You reality show watching, and this is just Stone saying that. But I mean, that's the people they're going for. And unfortunately, that actually is the majority of the voting public. And that's why the campaigns are the way they are. So to your point, if he wanted to play the game to win, it's like he almost didn't have a choice. Because
he didn't have a choice.
Yeah, because he can take the high road all day, and then Herschel do the mudslinging, but the public is going to look at, dang, Herschel's kicking his butt. Maybe he isn't all that good. Maybe he's weak and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And you think about it, you guys, you're now voting off of marketing strategy, not off of topics or platforms or candidate. You're voting off of marketing strategy.
And all of your governmental leaders know that, which is why politics have never changed, which is, again, why I have chosen not to participate in it anymore. Yep. Because it's not what it's supposed to be.
Right.
I'm supposed to say, what are you going to do for me and the greater good of people? You are supposed to respond with, this is my plan for the greater good of the people.
Which is exactly what Warnock was in the beginning.
This is how it's going to affect you. Right. Now, this is what you're going to have to do to meet me halfway to do this. And then we collectively will come to this, planned out end. Yep. That is not what happens in politics. Politics is a popularity contest, and it has been forever. Right. We could go back to Greece if you want to.
And popularity comes with how much money you can spend.
Exactly. You're intentionally not given enough information to make an educated decision on who to vote for, because human beings are emotional creatures, so they play to your emotions. Who's going to piss you off enough to make you vote for somebody else?
Yep.
Who's going to make you feel good enough to make you vote for them? Now, what do I make this person say to piss you off enough to vote for them against the other person? And what do I make this person say to make you feel good enough to vote for them?
I mean, two things we've said so far already, where honestly, if we wanted to even end this episode right on that point, we can, is one, People don't do their research on their candidates. So once you vote, and then we come in and say, okay, why'd you vote for this person? What are the things that they're standing for? Chances are you're not going to be able to recite back the platform that they're running on and why you agree with it, except for what you heard, not from what you read and researched yourself.
Yeah, or seen from track record.
Or seen from other people, right.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that if you're going to be honest with yourself, you have to ask yourself, am I that person? 2, well, he just said emotional voting. How are these marketing ads aiming to trigger your trigger, basically, or trigger you, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
Trick your trigger. Okay.
Trick your trigger. Like, that's what these ads are. And some of you vote on that. Those are the top 2 type of people who vote. And if you think about it, just like Johnny said, that is not how any of this is supposed to work.
Right.
So you have to be, I can't be honest about you for you. You have to be honest about yourself and say, wow, you're right. So actually, I really don't sit down and dig myself.
Nobody's going to do that.
This.
Nobody's going to do that.
Partially because we're going to go to the whole it takes work type thing.
Right. So
it takes effort.
No need to do it. No need to do it. I'm not going to even do it, man.
Right.
But what I will do is go to the second part of that, to the not wanting to do the homework aspect, the work part of it. When people get into their information silos and they get into, you have your gang. That's the thing. Stone talks about the need of the human to be in a group. We've already had that discussion. I don't necessarily have that particular need. I don't need to be associated with a particular group. But that subconscious thing that when you feel like you're a part of something, you develop a sub-elitist conscious behind that. Every side does that. The Democrats feel holier than thou because they want to save the babies.
Right.
The conservative sides feel holier than thou because they want to be, I'm going to really throw a big fiscally responsible and life-preserving party at this point. The one thing that really upsets me, and I'm going to use this example as one because, again, I don't vote anymore. This is my first one not voting. I probably won't vote again. But there have been a bunch of people saying, you're the problem, Johnny.
Right.
Your vote counts. And if you would have been here, we wouldn't have had this much of a struggle.
Right.
You're assuming I would have voted for the same person that you wanted to vote for.
Facts.
There were very few people on ballots in the states that I could, in Florida, where I'm actually a resident, that actually identify with my level of politics.
There is one of the 2 Republicans who are running against Warnock for senator, and I can't think of his name right now. And one of them, I actually was considering voting for. Oh, okay. He just didn't make it.
Okay.
He just didn't make it. You know what I mean? But I actually would have voted for him, actually, even over Warnock, because I'm not. As you guys know already, I'm purple. I don't affiliate with a party.
I used to say I'm purple.
Which leads to 2 things.
Because you said colors anymore.
You're right. You said 2. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to jump on first. All right, let's go back to when you're talking about the abortion thing.
Okay.
In your opinion, how is it that in the majority of the states, and this is stuff that I've read myself, so this is my opinion, in the majority of the states, the abortion issue took precedence even over the economy?
That's a 2-part answer.
Okay.
One, people don't understand how the hell the economy works.
You know what? That's the short, accurate answer of what I was thinking.
People
I was
don't really understand.
I was like,
economics.
what is you? And I know there's going to be some very thin-skinned woman right now that's going to get offended when I'm saying, but what does you having to decide whether or not you want to keep your baby, whether for legitimate reasons or just because you weren't responsible enough when you had sex, what does that have to do with my livelihood?
Right.
And the livelihood of the business that I run and the livelihood of the other businesses that I will participate in. What does that have to do with this? And so that's how I am. I was like, so how did this abortion thing become even a more priority than the doggone economy?
The second part to that answer is what I was talking about earlier, is the difference between logic targets, which when you're working on the economy, sure, you can make emotional decisions based off of the economy. But when you're dealing with your money, you want to be more logical.
Right.
You want to be logical when you're dealing with money because making emotional decisions based off of that can cause catastrophic loss. As FTX, they're dealing with it right now. So do I. Every business owner has experienced it at some point. The abortion issue is more of an emotional standpoint as the way it's positioned when it's targeting those audiences. From what I've seen from my research over these years, the Caucasian women who vote for every proposition to ban abortion are doing it under the direction of their male leader or their husband or whoever they're taking direction from.
And I already know that rubbed some of y'all the wrong way.
Oh, it definitely.
Please comment. If y'all haven't realized by now, we welcome your comments. You don't have to freaking agree with us.
I don't care.
Comment, blast us, whatever. Be like, you know what, you're
say what you gotta say.
for saying. Well, don't
bring it all.
You know, whatever it is, but
no, say it all.
I don't want to encourage.
I'm gonna bring some of this
but-
Kevin Samuels stuff in here. When Kevin Samuels, before he passed away, God rest his soul, when he was talking about all this stuff that in the black community, black women have gotten to a point to where they want to be men so bad they can't take leadership direction from men.
It is so funny you brought that up.
You don't. Well, I'm just.
I hate because you keep bringing up good stuff. I keep sidetracking. No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was gonna say you don't have that issue with Caucasian women. No matter what they feel internally, they follow their man. If their man says this is what we're voting on, that's what they do. And again, I've spoken to these women, and I was like, "Hey, how do you feel about this?" Well, I voted this way, but. And I was like, oh, it ain't no but. Your husband told you what to do, and you did that. We can stop right there. I know what that is. And that's exactly what you get. So that's the answer to that's a two-part answer to that.
Right.
You got a logical positioning on economics. You have an emotional target on the abortion issue, which we've had a conversation on how I feel about that when, you know, population numbers are really important. The tax base is going down. You need people to be born to replace the people who are dead. The baby boomers are about to start dying, period.
Right.
That's what's about to happen.
Baby boomers about to go boom.
Every government knows that that's what's happening. You don't want what's happening in Japan to happen here, so you need people to have babies. And you need people to have babies that are going to be working class. That's what you need. Poor babies is what you need. So that's what I got. I'm just getting straight to the point on that.
I'm not even sure.
There's no other ways to put it.
Technically speaking, all babies are technically poor when they're born.
You need babies in poor economic families. But that's that duality of that. You've got a logical position and you've got an emotional position.
Why do we need poor babies again?
Well, if they're working class, then they're working for...
Does working class automatically mean poor? I'm just saying, because when you say poor, that paints a picture in my head.
So if one goes into breaking down what the economics is, the poverty line has been moving higher and higher. You've been hearing this whole thing for years that the middle class has been dissolving. There is no middle class anymore.
Okay.
I was having a conversation with my son on going to school 2 weeks ago before I left, and I told him, I was like, man, if you actually go by some of these new metrics and the bar for what the poverty line is, we're just above it.
Right.
And
just like technically, y'all, I'm clinically obese.
Yeah.
I know it's hard for some of you guys to believe. Stop salivating over all of this. I get it.
Yeah, no, that camera's adding 15 pounds, so they can see it on camera. The camera's adding the 15, so they see it on this. In person, they can't tell. Like, I can't tell right here.
That I'm clinically obese.
But when I look at that screen right there, both of us look a little...
Hey, look at the whole...
I'm just saying. So, but no, that's one of those things that it was a hard conversation because he was like, well, Daddy, we're not poor. I was like, no, we're not. But based off of what the information and the research and what that metric is with the dissolving of the middle class, we would have been upper-ish middle class.
Right. No, that's why I wanted you to break that down. Because poor just paints a certain picture traditionally.
So thank you for pulling that out. So that actually paints the picture of what I was saying earlier without going too deep into it. Is that in these political cycles, they give you just enough of a buzzword to trigger something in you. Trigger your, what did you say? I gotta try to remember
Trick your trigger.
Trick your trigger. Man, that's fly. They give you just enough of that sugar, enough of that high fructose corn syrup. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother underlying euphemism for what all of this stuff is.
Right.
But they give you enough of that to either get you salivating or to get you to reject something. You're gonna have an emotional reaction to some of that information. So by me saying poor babies, yeah, somebody's going to have that knee-jerk reaction because it's an emotional, visceral response to what I said, as opposed to understanding what is the poverty line. Where do I sit in relation to that poverty line? Where was it 20 years ago? And where is it projected to be 20 years from now? And where will I fall in it then? Nobody thinks that. Well, I'm going to say nobody.
Right.
A lot of people refuse to think that far into it, and you have to if you want to actually be involved in what we're calling the civic engagement process. I'm choosing different forms of civic engagement. If you stay around this stuff long enough, you'll hear people actually say this phrase, that voting is the least effective form of civil engagement. I heard that for the first time when I was in like 6th grade. I didn't understand it until we did a mock voting in 8th grade. And I was like, all right, so we voted. All of us voted in school. Everybody put in their ballots and all that stuff. I voted for Ross Perot just for the hell of it to see what was going to happen. And when we did that, they announced who the actual president would have been. And it was completely different.
Well, we just saw it with Hillary and Trump. Like, we just saw that one shook me. I mean, psychologically or intellectually rather, I knew how that can happen, but to see it actually play out and happen in real life, where the popular vote literally didn't count.
Oh, that electoral college will screw your head up.
Like
when you see
that
it
was
works.
because I was always a person who was like, no, Bill, that's still at the end of the day, your vote still depends. It sends
positive attitude
it
crap.
chooses. Well, no, because it is true. It's not that it's positive. True, your vote does help determine who gets sent to that level. So that part is true. It just doesn't. When it comes down to something being close. I'm now with you. It's like it doesn't matter. And when I woke up that next morning and that man was president, Johnny, I swear to you, I wanted to vomit and diarrhea at the same time. Like it was gross. Like seriously. But which is going to bring me to my next question. I forgot what I was going to say about that whole thing. But anyway, so my next question, Herschel.
Yeah.
Oh, this is what I was going to say. As you were breaking down how all these things work, even down to the marketing that we were talking about, right? You guys you're seeing online, and even some of your friends, some say, "Oh, in the Matrix, we're in the Matrix." Let's take the spookiness away from that phrase, right? Because all they're saying is there's a plan behind the plan that you're allowed to see, and that's not on some. We're not getting so deep now where we're getting like conspiracy theory either. There is what's that? There's what's that place between heaven and hell again? Purgatory. There's a purgatory of ideal there. Okay. Where it may not be so grandiose as there's 3 men up there with buttons and puppet strings, right?
Dude,
but then,
you can imagine it to be that way though.
Right, but then it's not so much where to imagine 3 men puppet strings is so far fetched. That's where we are.
Yeah.
Let me break it down on a very, very simple level to give you the concept, which many of you already know. When you go into some restaurants, there's a reason why the light is dim. The light is dim so that you're not so focused on the portion size of your plate. And there's a reason why a lot of the plates sometimes are smaller. It's not that you got a lot of food, but the plates are smaller. So it seems like you're getting more. So you seem like you're getting more, which affects how much they can charge. But then it's dim, so you don't really see what you're eating, so you don't feel so full so quickly. And then even the colors of the restaurant. There's a reason why McDonald's is yellow and red. There are psychological reasons behind all this stuff. So what I'm trying to tell you is there is scientific systematic processes and things behind what it is that you see and do. That's all we're saying. And then some people, we just say, oh, it's the Matrix, but that's all a part of what that is. And of course, the bigger things go when you get into government and, like the fact that, United States, we don't even control our own treasury. Like, that's just mind blowing, which some of y'all didn't even know.
That
right?
actually goes to another reason why I backed away from the whole voting thing, because and again, this is not to sound arrogant, but when you start to really understand what's happening, there's a certain group of people that aren't affected either way by what happens.
Boom. And we like to just affectionately call them the 1%.
Sure.
But it gets deeper than that.
And my goal, my whole life has been to, I always talk about enjoying the journey. I want to enjoy what I'm doing. I want to experience things. But in that background, I have to be rich enough not to be affected by these changes. And I hate to make it sound like it's just a money thing, but our economy is designed that way. There is a certain class of individual that is not watching CNN, MSNBC, and Fox for these results like some people are.
And that's the same class that these political ads are aimed at. You guys see where we're going with this. We're actually going to do an episode. Stay tuned for it.
We are.
It's going to be entitled "There's a Science to That."
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason why, and it's exactly what we're talking about. Everything from being a top tier recording artist and athlete to being a politician to being a Jeff Bezos or whatever it is people that are doing it on an elite level. You will see that there is an on-purpose system and on-purpose science behind that. And when you learn what those things are, people can't trick you anymore. So we really want to make sure we get you guys into that. So back to the Herschel thing.
Don't forget the Herschel thing.
Because I want to know what the heck the science is behind the Herschel.
Well, I do. I think I have a theory. What I was getting at with pointing that out is that you'll run into a lot of people now, and you see it all the time. Oh, y'all are being sheep. It's being used a lot with not backing Kanye and the whole thing with Kyrie Irving and all
then you're woke. I'm so over that word.
I've become what I like to call a watcher. I observe all of this stuff and I stay neutral to whatever the responses are, and I move in the way that's going to be best for me and my family in that situation.
Right.
and not get affected by it. But one thing that I heard, and I hate to point this out, it was Charlemagne. It was Charlemagne that said it. Charlemagne says that once you stop being a sheep and listen to somebody else, all you do is start listening to who you want to listen to, and whether you want to admit it or not, you become a sheep of that ethos, of that thought process. Okay. And the one thing that I've seen a lot of people do is bounce back and forth between that. They don't want to be a sheep so bad that they try to go against the grain and refuse to accept the fact that all you're doing is following another train of thought that a whole bunch of other people are following.
Which you can't ever really get out from under.
This is the Matrix thing. So people will paint this picture of you being trapped in the Matrix and somebody being a puppet master and pulling the strings on everything. And your job is to figure out a way to get out of that so you can exist outside of it. There is no existing outside of it.
Yeah.
Your job is to figure out where you're going to exist in it and become the most highly functional individual you can in that, because there is no outside of it.
Right. And in layman's terms, what do you choose to influence you?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what are you choosing to influence you? Bottom line. And it could be a mixture of things. You know, it's so funny because, you know, every once in a while I talk about the Bible talks about that too. It actually says, you know, that in the days that it's talking about the woman or the wife, but that she'll go from doctrine to doctrine, you know, bouncing for whatever feels good, whatever makes sense at the time. So, I mean, it literally is talking about that very thing. So Herschel, at the end of the day, y'all, I still just don't understand why y'all do the things that you do. I mean, like Trump has already proven, again, all this is what this election has finally revealed about the United States. So that Trump was a huge revelation as it was, as some of y'all can give a crap about idiocy and stupid for whatever it is you choose to believe in. And then the Herschel thing. I mean, the man played football.
It's easy to explain.
Can we just... he played football. Now, don't get me wrong. There are other politicians who, they were just athletes, you know, and that was their only skill or qualification. I mean, doggone Arnold Schwarzenegger, at the end of the day, he was an athlete / actor. That was his only qualification. So I know, I get it. It happens. But I mean, when you're sitting there and they're bringing up these issues, and your response is, "No, yeah, we definitely could use some of that." Like I'm trying to figure out, what is it that y'all are expecting from this man? I think that's the question I need to ask. Not why are you voting for him, because y'all gonna have all. What is it that you've seen in him? And that you've heard from him that now gave you this expectation of ... That is what I need to hear from you. And y'all already know, if you don't know I've done it, go back. I think it was episode, matter of fact, he was the 43rd president, so I think it was episode 43 or 143, 43. The Trump experiment.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not saying this to be a smart butt and just, I literally want to know, what is it that you are expecting from this guy that he is bringing to the table? Not that he's an echo chamber, you know, of Trump. Not that he's just a Republican Party echo chamber. What did he say that you can bring to the table that said, you know what, doggone it, this bulldog is a man for Georgia? I gotta know that.
You're doing too much. You're doing way too much.
I'm asking too much.
Can I borrow 5 minutes to break this whole thing down?
Let it be broke.
Let it be broke. Johnny could 100% be wrong on this, but I'm going to put this out there from where I see it as. Now, I can't remember the philosopher who said this, and I'm calling him a philosopher because it's just interesting, some of the stuff he says. But he talks about the black people in America and the black people overseas, and how the lower class African American here in America struggles to find success when we don't in other places because of the poverty mindset. And they broke it down to the fact that black people in other parts of the world weren't stripped of their culture. They were able to keep their culture from Africa, and we weren't. So he leads that to say that since we didn't have a culture, we adopted the culture of the poor people here. And then he breaks down all of this stuff about rednecks and black people. And he uses the term rednecks, poor white people in trailer parks, and poor black people, and how the mentality is identical. Now, I give that short setup to give you my whole thing on Herschel Walker. Okay. Conservatives, right-wingers, white people have no idea what's going on in the black community. They don't know. But what they do know is, for the most part, if black people get a successful black person, we rally behind that person. The mistake they made was the black person they chose. But that's because they don't understand fully the mentality of the African American in America. They picked Herschel Walker because this is one of the greatest football players and athletes that they have. He's going to be a shoo-in because they're going to identify with him on that, and we're going to draw their vote simply off of that emotional positioning. That's what that is.
It seems like
you're doing too much.
It seems like, and this is from the outside in. I'm telling you guys right now, I don't have data.
Don't do too much.
I've done no research, but just from conversations, you know, Cliffco, we literally just had a meeting on this whole topic.
Okay.
And all of them at the table, it seemed like more white folks, and definitely white Georgia Bulldog fans, are the ones that are more accepting than just a black person, period.
Well, obviously, because they've got that tie to Georgia.
So when you were saying they're using the whole football thing to draw more black votes, or just draw more votes?
So it's a known fact that they were going to need to swing some African American votes. After what Stacey Abrams did in the last cycle, the whole rally and the voting, getting it up, they needed to pull some of that. So they needed a figure that they felt would connect with black people to pull some of those votes, and they just happen to be Georgia Bulldogs fans. Those are two emotional positionings.
So they needed that 5-letter word, token. At the end of the day,
I asked for 5 minutes to spell it out without saying it, but yeah.
There it is. Yeah, we could have said it just in 5 seconds.
But I mean, that's
the
thing. I didn't want to not give at least some surface level of what my viewpoint is on that, and just say that, because some people will do that. Some people will say, "Man, they just need to talk," and not tell you why. Well, why do you feel that way? And then they can't explain. I can explain to you exactly why. When I first heard Herschel Walker, I was like, man. Yeah. One, I knew I was going to have to be at work with him, because all of the freaking debates, every debate you've seen with Herschel, and it happens at our studio. It happens right upstairs. We're all there for it. Right. And I was like, I'm going to be dealing with this crap for the next year. Like, I knew that's what it was going to be. And it was going to be a huge push. And even being in those environments when the cameras are off and it's not on TV, he's still on in that I need to draw.
Right.
Because he's looking to get the black followers that's from, because that's what the Republican aim is.
Yeah, the moment he was so serious about running and stuff like that, immediately I just cringed, right? But after the Trump experiment, I didn't want to cringe without a reason anymore. So I didn't do as deep of a dive as I did with Donald, but I still dove a little bit. And when I tell you, I couldn't find a single reason, one, why he should even be running.
There are none.
Let alone why someone should vote for him. So I need y'all to know this isn't an emotional reaction from me. I'm not just saying it just because the guy speaks broken English. It doesn't sound like he graduated in 6th grade.
That bull
all that is surface level stuff. You know, that can come from background, environment, and all that stuff.
It's funny.
So I get it, but I literally I couldn't find a single thing about this man that made him vote worthy.
Because you're holding on to what I said a little while ago, is that politics aren't what they're supposed to be, and you're trying to look at this through the lens of what it's supposed to be.
Well, I'm just trying to balance.
It's not.
That's it. I'm not trying to make it something it isn't. When I say I want to be able to back it up.
This is
with
also
something.
This is also one of the reasons that's on my list of why I'm not participating in this system anymore, because there is no balance. Just like I said, the what is considered the left here in America, they're going to propose a bunch of stuff, but they're never going to wield the power that they need to, the way the right here in this country will wield their power when they have it to make things happen. It's not going to go down like that. Right. It's because they want to make sure that you're still being herded towards some particular direction. Now, I don't know if it's an oligarchy.
I don't know what it is. I just summed it up to the fact that at the end of the day, they needed a black magnet do boy who was a puppet that doesn't think. That's what I framed. That's what I summed it up as.
That's what it is.
They needed a black magnet do boy who was a puppet that wouldn't.
But
think.
it's that all.
And those
across
other two Republicans I told you about, did we say it on the show or off show? I can't remember. But the other two Republicans that were running, and I said one of them I would have voted for. Actually, besides Warnock. Neither one. Gosh, I don't know where. I can't remember their names.
You got a phone? Google it, bro.
Yeah, I don't want to take the time. But either way, y'all can Google it. How about that? But either way, they I don't want to use the word smart, but they thought for themselves too much to be a puppet.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't have worked. And matter of fact, one of them, he actually publicly expressed his disdain for some of. He was a Trump supporter and all that, but he publicly expressed this disdain for some of the things Trump did. So right off the bat, and he was the one actually that I would have voted for, not because of the Trump thing, but there's no way in the world they can have him run. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway, Herschel just. If y'all can explain that to me, I would want to know.
You're too emotionally attached.
I am. It's not emotion. I'm just confused. Like, how do we keep finding ourselves in this boat where we vote for?
Is confusion a logical or an emotional response to something?
How is it emotional?
How is it logical?
Like, until I learned that 1 + 1 = 2, I was confused how 1 + 1 = 2. Where's the emotion?
1 + 1 = 3. If you don't use protection.
Professor from Morehouse proved that it doesn't equal 2. But given the common knowledge,
no,
right?
I understand what you're saying.
You get what I'm saying, yeah.
I know what you're saying. But what I'm putting out, confusion comes from. I mean, and this is the part where it could be logical. Mm-hmm. It comes from the perspective of not knowing or understanding. But
right.
If it falls into confusion, that means that you stop trying to understand what it is. Because if you continue to try to figure it out,
or I'm just in the current state of confusion while trying to understand. Is that possible?
I'm giving you. Is
that still emotion?
I don't know. I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt of being smarter than that, to where you can stick logical and look at it and say, this is exactly what it is. I know that you dumb jerks out there are not going to do your research.
That's emotional to me.
No. No,
yeah, all right. So we rabbit trail.
No, we're not. It's a fact that I know people who are less educated are not going to do research. That's a fact.
Well, the reason why I say that's why I didn't want to say not smart and dumb, because as you're always reminding me, that's subjective. Because I know a lot of people who aren't educated, but way smarter than I am in some areas. So,
I'm trying to evoke an emotional response right now. Is what I'm doing.
Not happening. No,
not necessarily from you.
From our listeners.
I'm using.
I guess there are more people listening than just.
I'm not just talking to you. I'm being very deliberate with my word choice.
But look, I want to ask one more thing that was revealed about us. And that word us by y'all, it was a little play on words there. Us, US, you get that? Boom, boom. So Tennessee, stand up for Tennessee. Mm-hmm. They finally banned slavery.
Yeah. I got to look this up. I can't remember how many states it's not.
I saw more posts than not that were, giving big ups and props to Tennessee for banning slavery. Don't get me wrong. I totally understand why.
So it's 18 left.
18 what?
Left that haven't.
Oh, that right. All right. So my point.
Yep.
So all these people congratulating Tennessee, Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of like, all right, okay, Tennessee did what should have been done a long time ago.
Right.
But in the same breath, while you're congratulating Tennessee, me personally, I think it should be one fluid movement. Oh, congratulations, Tennessee. Then keep it turned to the government. Like, okay, let's go ahead and just shut down this whole freaking 13th Amendment. And because at the end of the day, this is really all it comes down to. And finally, somewhere, somehow, somebody, I don't know who, where, what the trigger was, in Tennessee was like, hey, did y'all realize that the loopholes in 13th Amendment kind of keep slavery happen?
Well, it was written that way on purpose.
Oh, it was. But that's what I'm saying. It's like, who was the bright person? It's not like they didn't know it all this time, first of all. That's what I want to bring up, too. So I would be interested in knowing what caused that catalyst to finally, just the light to go off in somebody's head to say, you know what, we ought to put this as a voting option. And then that's the other thing. That's the other thing, Johnny.
It's easy too.
Why? Oh, serious. Ask yourself. You don't have to ask yourself. Ask yourself this question, y'all, as you're giving Tennessee all these props. Why is it something we had to freaking vote on? Yeah, but can we just ask that? Why are we voting?
So emotional.
Should slavery be or not be? In 2022.
So emotional.
We are voting on that, people.
Man, it's so emotional. You okay, Stone?
I'm trying to get my point across. Like, because again, we get lost in all the other stuff. Like, oh yeah, Tennessee finally, they're here. No. I want to know the fact that why the freak was it even an option to vote for? Why are we voting on whether or not slavery should be banned?
Stone.
And then the other 18 other states, you said that
it should be
haven't even made an option to vote on.
Yeah. Stone, all right, we've been talking about this, and I've brought up the fact that there are emotional triggers and logical triggers that are being targeted. You see how emotional you just got based off of and it's valid. I'm not saying it's not valid. But given that actually, let me back up.
Some dramatics.
Let me back up real quick.
Effect. So you guys were like, I like listening to that.
I see you do that off camera sometimes too. Like that Stone lives in there. He comes out on certain stuff.
It does.
It definitely lives in there.
Absolutely does. Why are you walking on my grass? But go ahead.
I want to back up real quick and talk about the whole how did it happen in Tennessee so quick. And that's an easy answer to respond.
Well, just so you know, I didn't say so quick. So just in case that's what your answer is.
It happened fast in reference to when it started to become not enough people doing the research and knowing that it hasn't been ratified fully by all of these states yet, so it's still a thing. You had a bunch of people who were liberals who've been moving to the state of Tennessee. Land was cheap. California was stupid expensive. Chicago's really expensive up there in Illinois. New York has been stupid expensive. So you get liberals who are leaving. It's the same thing Texas is going through. You got all the people from California that's moving to Texas, and they're saying, leave your California there because they're worried about Texas becoming a blue state because, one, California's gotten stupid expensive. Taxes continue to go up, so people are leaving. And those ideals leave with those people. And that's what happened in Tennessee. You're starting to see certain parts of Tennessee make those little bits of shifts, and you're seeing some of that liberalism bleed through because the land was cheap. And people had a lot of money from making money in California, and they could work from home. So now I can go buy me a 5,000 square foot house for $200,000 as opposed to having a 1,000 square foot house for $1 million in California. And I'm going to take my talents to South Beach. So that's how that happened. Why you're not seeing it and why it still needs to be voted on, another two-part answer. One, this facade that we have a federal government and then we have localized governments, which allows the federal government to get its hands enough in the cookie jar to say this is what it's supposed to be, but then their hands out of the cookie jar enough for when something actually gets stolen and somebody realizes it's missing, they can blame somebody else for it.
Right.
Each individual state can be blamed for the state of their state, as opposed to the federal government making laws that, you know, are voted on by the people, the populace,
right,
and not controlled by a small group of gerrymandering controllers. But that's not why it's going to happen, because it allows you to continue to perpetuate division. And that's why you haven't seen it happen in those other places yet. Those other states are still controlled by people whose mentalities are still there. They don't see it as important to put it on the ballot to let people vote for it. And also, a sub to that two-part answer is those people aren't affected by it.
That's a biggie.
Their culture isn't affected by slavery.
That's a biggie.
They don't have to worry about being a part of that system. So out of sight, out of mind. Are you? And I can't remember if it was you. Like, it was you who said it. Like, are you someone that truly supports it and are going to be an activist to fight for it? Or are you going to just give it lip service and then claim to be, but then you sit in the background, and then in that point, you're just passively allowing it?
It's almost like my friend, my new friend Ted Jenkins. Shout out to Ted Jenkins.
This is a real person? Yeah. I got to ask, because you know.
No, he's a real person. He's a real person. He's a white guy, last name named Jenkins, as a matter of fact. But he's mad cool.
Okay.
But he's one of the co-founders of Shrimp Tank, Lee's.
Oh, right on. Yeah. Right? Okay.
But he's a part of this organization, Leadership Atlanta. I'm still waiting for you guys to accept me in. But well, I was nominated. Thank you, Ted. But anyway, so they had an exercise with C.T. Vivian's son. And what he took from this exercise, he went to his friends and he was like, to your point, he said that most households are non-racist. He's talking about white folks. He said most households are non-racist, but not anti-racism.
That was the conversation. Yep, that was it.
Not anti-racism, and that was so on point.
Yeah.
And then of course we know there's money in it. So again,
absolutely,
it's not like I really don't know why the 13th
you know
Amendment.
Why.
And for those of you guys who don't understand that, there was a great documentary, I think, on Netflix called 13 or The 13 or something like that. Basically, just do Netflix 13th Amendment and you'll find it. They did a great job breaking down why the 13th Amendment makes slavery legal. Because when I say slavery, some of y'all are still thinking chains and whips and
the
cattle
private prison
yokes
system has benefited greatly from
Watch the 13th Amendment. Look, people, I'm not saying this for your for your entertainment purposes. Freaking educate yourself, please. I am begging you, all right? So you know what the heck is going on and know what the country you live in and know what you're talking about or know what we're talking about. Watch that documentary and you'll understand why it's a big deal that Tennessee suddenly say, okay, slavery is banned, because like there was no slavery. So what can be banned? And then how come 18 other states aren't jumping on board? Watch it, all right? And I have a nephew actually right now who's kind of a victim of that. He did do some wrong. He serves his time. That's not the argument. Argument is they came and they picked him up again on something super, super thin. But they wanted to keep him in there for a longer period of time. Yeah. And I'm calling him out. He unfortunately has a public defender. His name is Bruce Throckmorton, 609-585-0050.
Okay.
When you talk about a public defender that is doing nothing, I mean, nothing. My nephew, this is a sidebar real quick, but I'm getting to my point, has done all this legal work. Man won't file motions, won't go really see him, but maybe once every couple of months, whatever. When I say Bruce Throckmorton in New Jersey, if y'all are connected to him, tell him I called him out, tell him to call me because he's horrible. But I'm trying to comfort my nephew, and I told him, you need to understand, the longer you're in there, the more money they get. I said, you need to understand that there really is no incentive. Like, forget justice. There's no incentive to let you out early. There's no incentive to be like, oh yeah, you're right. We indicted him before we even arrested him. True. Yeah. The indictment was set before they even arrested the boy. So I said, so stop getting confused and frustrated from confusion. Unfortunately, it has nothing really to do with what you did.
I'm glad. I'm happy. Stop getting frustrated from confusion. That's what I was pointing out when you said I'm so confused. That's literally what it is that we, by not understanding the reasoning behind why something is perpetuated, you have an emotional trigger to it because you don't have a logical understanding of it. The way you put it right there, there's no financial incentive to let him out.
None.
The government's not going to make more money off of his tax contributions than they are by paying this private prison and getting whatever they get.
Now,
back
if I did run for office, that would probably be my main platform.
You link up with Kim Kardashian and jump on prison reform?
It's not even so much prison reform. I guess it can fall into prison reform, but to have people sit in jail just waiting for a court date. You know, especially under the whole innocent until proven guilty thing, to have people sit in jail and in lockup before you can even get to the process of deciding whether or not you were innocent or guilty.
But what would you attack
honestly,
on that?
I don't know. Because I just said that would be a platform, but I would have to dig and obviously educate myself.
You would have to clean up the administrative side of the legal system.
I'm sure there'd be a whole...
Because what they do is hide behind backlog.
Absolutely.
Papers have to be processed by 7 different offices. You have to clean that up.
That I agree. And I wouldn't say it wouldn't be an uphill battle or climb, and I wouldn't even say it would get resolved during my term of service. But that is something that will probably be a huge platform. That right.
Well, you know what? Why not do it now, though, Stone? You don't have to run for office. When I talk about the least effective form of civic engagement being that, prison reform fights are a highly effective form of civic engagement. Because they help educate people who don't want to do the research, don't have time to do the research on what's actually happening to their people, to them, to their family, to their brother, to their nephew. And when it becomes known, when they have that logical understanding, the emotional reaction follows. Now you've galvanized people behind your cause. I try to get involved with more of that stuff because, again, stroking a pen, circling a bubble, that's not going to do much. Because sending those people to office, just like we talked about Reverend Warnock, I didn't like Reverend Warnock from the jump because I knew what was going to happen. Reverend Warnock is a dog for God. I'll give him that. He gonna give you a word. He gonna make you feel it. He gonna burn your spirit. He gonna galvanize you there. That's a different kind of battlefield you fighting in over there in Washington D.C. And he doesn't have I don't personally feel he has the temperament to deal with that. I don't think his conscience is gonna allow him to do the stuff he needs to do there with that. But on the ground level, as a minister, he's got way more power, I think,
it's not like he does. Not like he sucked during the half term that he served.
I didn't say that.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean,
all I said was I didn't like it.
Well, I know you said he didn't. And paraphrasing what you said, he didn't really have what it takes to be in that game. Just paraphrasing it.
Absolutely.
I don't get that
It's a
part.
Different fighting arena. It's not.
No,
the
that
same
part
thing.
I agree with.
It's a completely different fighting.
Just what's his name? Jake. The influencer, YouTube influencer, Jake Paul. Like a lot of people, are like, dude, you're a freaking influencer.
I'm starting to think he can fight for real. I'm just being honest.
That's my point. He can. It's not like he hasn't put in the work. I mean, shout out to him. He puts in the work.
I mean, it was a joke at first.
That's kind of my point. Is what I'm saying.
But I mean, that's the thing. In the beginning, Jake still showed fire, and he showed that. I mean, he was fighting, and I was like, all right, man. He beating scrubs up, but I mean, dude, but he was doing what was necessary.
As people keep trying to say that about my Eagles.
No, we for real, bro.
For real.
We for real, bro. Now listen, I'm gonna stick with Jalen Hurts because yes, he definitely has been 8-0 and lost a national championship before. But dude, the schedule looks great for us.
Oh yeah, amazing.
Just putting it out there. But no, what I'm pointing out is that for you with that stance that you have, because I mean I can tell that's a visceral response too. One, you're emotionally connected to your nephew. Two, you're seeing a disservice is being done.
Absolutely.
And nothing is being done, and it's benefiting somebody else's pockets, obviously for a reason.
Right.
an amazing form of civil engagement would be to jump on that and galvanize people behind that without trying to run for office. Because when you get in office, dude, you get handcuffed by everything that's in your party, bro.
Absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And it's so funny you said that because in the L.I.F.E meeting, when we got up, I said, to be honest with you guys, I don't want to be the king. I said, I want to be the dude in the king's ear.
There you go.
Because to me, that's the power guy.
You want to be the hand.
Yeah, the hand of the king. That's the power guy.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, it's no secret. I mean, yes, we still claim that the president of the United States is the most powerful chair in the world. The TV show Scandal debunked that crap. I mean, if you think B613 isn't real and there isn't a Ronin out there for real, like that dude exists. And you understand this because you hear presidents, governors, whoever in high leadership positions, always at some point, you can find a video where they slip up and they say something that's based on what they feel. And it's like, yo, is that what's really about to happen? Is that what we really get into? And then you get the correction.
Yeah, B613. And G14 classified is real too. Don't sleep on that. That G14 classified. So as always, you can find us on L.I.F.E podcast. That's everything that you need is right there. If you want to go to our social media sites, if you want to contact us directly, we actually get those emails and we actually respond. You can binge on the latest 10 episodes on there, or you can click on the YouTube button and go watch the videos. Whatever it is you want to do can be done on L.I.F.E on podcast. If you want to check me out at all, my personal stuff is Stone Stafford, not Stanford, not Stratford, not Statford, not Sanford. StoneStafford.com. What about you, Jay?
I'm Johnny Vaughn, just Johnny Vaughn, JUSTJONYVAN on all your social media platforms. The website's out there, but it's down. I know I told Lee, a month and a half ago I was going to have it done. I did not expect to be as busy as I am.
I was going to say, I can attest to how busy you are. However, we will not allow Johnny to use that as an excuse.
It's not. It's going
to get our music done.
No. I've got time carved out to do that.
All right.
No. I've got scheduled time to go in the lab.
We're supposed to be doing a song from scratch.
We are going to get to a song. I've messed with a couple things already, but I mean, like I haven't had a chance to get to the studio and just sit in there.
All right.
Once I got 2 more trips. When I'm back from those, we will have. It shouldn't take us more than 2 days to do a song.
Yeah, no more than 2 days. Yeah, I'm not one of them quick writers, just so y'all know.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean,
2 days is fine.
It don't take me more than 2 days to make a couple tracks. So.
Yeah, I'm not one of them go in the studio, then I whip out a song in like 3 hours. I'm not Crystal Nicole.
Right.
Shout out to Crystal. Yo, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. Say it with me. 1 million subscribers in 2023. We love you. We out of here. Peace. And you'll never see this setup again.
So back to what I was saying.